D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game? Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. Willie Donick will join us in a little bit. He's traveling to Philadelphia with the Nashville Predators, who will take on the Philadelphia Flyers tomorrow. So he will join us probably starting at the top of the second hour.
Rough one last night.
We'll get to that. We will get to that. I have some thoughts.
Man,
about the local professional hockey team, and they aren't good. The sun is starting to shine after it rained all day. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Wednesday. Anytime I hear, I've told this story on the air, Derek Mason, but anytime I hear about the city of Philadelphia, I think about this one time more than 10 years ago before I moved to Nashville. I was living in Arlington, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., and there was a grocery store right next to my apartment building. So as I was walking home with my groceries, a tub of Philadelphia cream cheese fell out of the bag. And I didn't notice it. And an older gentleman picked it up, hollered at me, walked over, handed it to me. And he looked at it and he said, "Philadelphia, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, the city of brotherly love." And I said, "That's right." And he says, "You know what I call it?" "What's that?" "The city of brothers getting mugged." And then he just walks away.
He didn't say anything after that?
Just handed me the cream cheese and went on his way.
Well, there you go. And it stuck with you.
It has. All these years later, more than a decade later, I have no idea why I remember that so vividly. But that's a story for another time. So, as Derek, what are you doing over there?
I like to get all this stuff. You know, I got a bunch. I'm like Fred Sanford over here. You know that. It's just like I got stuff everywhere, man. Derek, good thing Willie is not in his regular seat right now because I got stuff all over the table.
Derek comes in here like a doomsday prepper. He comes in with all sorts of food, and he's got a glass there for some reason, and all of these contraptions on his computer.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready for that day whenever it comes.
I'll always remember the day Derek Mason once showed up here with like 4 cupcakes and didn't offer any of them to the rest of us and just ate them all.
It was 3.
Okay.
And
sorry.
I offer food all the time.
That is true.
Say, hey, you want some?
You do usually offer us your food, but not those cupcakes. But I digress. The Tennessee Titans are preparing to take on the LA Chargers on Sunday. If I am not mistaken, the Titans' final game before their bye week. So we will all be granted a week-long reprieve of having to watch the Tennessee Titans. But they have one more game left, if I'm remembering the schedule correctly, against the LA Chargers. And before practice, it was reported that 6 Titans would not practice. Jeffrey Simmons, Calvin Ridley, Arden Key, Xavier Woods, Blake Hance, and Dan Moore Jr. Oh, and Daryl Baker. That's a lot of players.
Yeah, you know.
That's actually 7, but the headline says 6. Come on, Jim Wyatt.
Come on.
Nevertheless.
Don't cheat it. Don't cheat the system.
Nevertheless, it's bad.
This is what happens when you're a bad team. For some reason, you start occurring injuries a lot quicker than everybody else. For whatever reason, it just seems to happen that way. I haven't been a part of a bad team that wasn't injured all the time or wasn't injured that particular year. It's a double whammy for them because not only is the roster not good, the good players they do have are getting hurt. And then the bad players are getting hurt as well. What does that leave you with? Pretty much nothing. So this is where the Titans are at. It's going to get, I think, unfortunately, Adam, because the NFL and any other major league sports, when you start dealing with consecutive games and the wear and tear, this is a sport. It's a war of attrition. And unfortunately, this thing will get worse, I believe, before it gets better. Because guys are going down, and who do they have to back them up? Nobody, really. So this thing may get, we always said, can it get worse? Yeah, it can. And it just may.
The Chargers, by the way, are favored by 9.5.
I'm surprised it's not more.
Well,
the Colts were favored by 14.
And the odds makers were underselling it 14.5. The
Mm.
Titans lost by 24.
Mm-hmm. Somewhere around there.
Yikes. It's bad out there, guys. It's bad out there. Thank your lucky stars that Vanderbilt football has a team that's playing games with actual stakes. And we will get to Vanderbilt more today, tomorrow, and Friday ahead of their matchup against the Texas Longhorns. Another huge matchup for the Commodores on the road this weekend. Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow will join us at 5. Silly underdog picks at 5:20. But let's start with the Nashville Predators. And I regret to inform all of you that the Titans may not be the only team in our city that is, to borrow Cam Ward's term, ass. The Predators are, at the very least, ass adjacent.
I didn't know there was a such thing.
There is now. The Predators lost 5-2 last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning to wrap up their 5-game homestand with 2 wins and 3 losses. And if you watched the game last night, the Predators were mostly uncompetitive against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Game.
It was not a pretty game for the home team. And although the Predators' record so far this season is better than their record this time last season when they got off to an 0-5 start and never recovered, I just don't have a lot of hope. I just don't have a lot of hope for the Predators. The worst thing you can be in any sport is bad and boring. That is a deadly combination. If you're going to be bad, at least be entertaining while also being bad. I often use the example of the Washington Commanders, or their, what they used to be known as. When I was living in the Washington, D.C. area, they were bad, but it was also a train wreck every single week. And they were more entertaining when they were bad than when they were good. And the Predators, they can't score. They've been held to 2 goals or fewer 8 times in 11 games. 8 times in 11 games. That is the most in the NHL. And it really should be 9, because in one of the games where the Predators scored more than 2 goals, 2 of them were empty netters. So they scored 2 goals against the goalie and then tacked on 2 empty netters. So it was technically 4, but let's call it 8.5. It's just, I don't know what more this team can do to get better. The process has improved a little bit defensively. It's about the same offensively in terms of the quality of their scoring chances and all of those things, those fancy stats I like to bring up. It's more or less the same as it was a year ago. But here's the thing that bothers me the most, Derek. It would be one thing if the Predators were bad on purpose. If they were a team that was trying to be bad, that was playing a lot of young players in tough situations so that those young players could take their lumps and the team could get back into the draft lottery and draft another young player and in order to rebuild that way. The sad part is the Predators are bad, but they're not trying to be bad. The Predators want to win. The Predators want to be competitive, and they're this bad. That's the sad part. That's the part I have a hard time reconciling. That Barry Trotz, we have him on the show every Tuesday. Another great interview with Barry Trotz yesterday. If you missed it, you can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. We have Barry Trotz on the show every week. He wants the team to be a threat in the Western Conference. I don't know how you can watch this team through 11 games and think they have any chance of doing that. So that's the worst part. The worst part is they're not trying to be bad, and yet they're bad.
Yeah, they are. This is a team for the first 2 periods. I don't know what they were doing, honestly. They were losing the puck. It just seemed like sloppy play. They turned it on in the third period, yes, but it was a little bit too late, I think, at that point. Um, but this team kind of sort of like the Titans. I don't think they're a bad roster like the Titans are. I think they have a good roster. But like the Titans, they can't find a way to put it together. They're not playing cohesive hockey. Everybody's not, it doesn't seem like everybody's working together like they were in the third period. So they got to find a way. And listen, this is not a problem that we didn't see last year. Is the record better this year, like you said? Yes. But we're still seeing some of the same problems that they had last year. So will they get this fixed? I don't know. Hopefully they do. Hopefully it's early enough in the season that, they can, turn this thing around or start playing better hockey. But the way they played last night, you're not going to win too many games when you basically don't play the first two periods and then try to turn it on in the third period. In the games, pretty much, they have control of the game pretty much.
And it's led to a lot of Predators fans bringing up the coach. Scott from Shelbyville on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com says, Bruno's got to go, and we should have made Tampa take Steven Stamkos back, stuffed him in the baggage compartment of the Lightning team plane. And we'll talk about Steven Stamkos here in a little bit. But I sat here nearly a year ago and took up an hour explaining why the Predators should fire Andrew Brunette. And my reasoning at the time was it is proven that teams that fire their coaches in the NHL get a bump in the standings after making a change. Remember, Willie Donick accused me of cherry picking because I only looked at 1 year. So I said, here's 10. Take that, Willie. And my hypothesis was confirmed. But I don't know. I don't know what else. I don't know what else the team can do. They have no center depth. And here's one thing that I thought about last night.
Mm-hmm.
So last night, the reason why the Predators game was at 6:45 was because it was the frozen frenzy in the NHL. All 32 teams were in action. So I watched most of the Predators game and I kept eyes on some of the other games going on. I watched Connor Bedard, who was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago, record his first career hat trick last night for the Chicago Blackhawks. I was later watching a game involving the Utah Mammoth and the Edmonton Oilers. And I saw Logan Cooley, who, by the way, signed an 8-year, $80 million contract today. Logan Cooley, 21 years old, has 8 goals this season. And I thought to myself, which God do I have to pray to so that the Predators can get one of those players on their team? That's also another part of this. The Predators, they're old. I know that there are some young players sprinkled in the lineup, but by and large, they're old. All of the players that are producing, and there aren't many of them, but the players who are producing are old. And as I said, the saddest part is the Predators are not trying to be bad, and yet they are bad. And it actually may be a blessing in disguise once again. It was a blessing in disguise last season when they were so bad, they were able to pick in the top 5 of the NHL draft. And maybe they'll end up back there again this coming summer. But that's not a bad thing. I just wondered, Derek, if there comes a point where Barry Trotz is going to have to look in the mirror and say, I know I want our team to be competitive, but this roster is incapable of being competitive, and we need to take a step back. I have maintained this. I wrote an article about this like 3 years ago with the headline, The Predators will not get better until they allow themselves to get worse. And I stand by that. That was after they were swept out of the first round by the Colorado Avalanche. That was years ago.
Mhm.
So I just don't know how you can watch this team not score, and they've gotten a little bit better defensively. I'm not going to take that away from them. But that's not what excites people. They want to see an entertaining product. The score of the Chicago-Ottawa game last night was 7-3. That was fun. Now, not every game is going to be like that, but that was fun. Try to remember what the score of the Utah-Edmonton game last night was. It was 6-3, Edmonton. Fans want goals. Fans want to see players who can score goals. The Predators don't have any of those players right now. I mean, Philip Forsberg scored a sharp angle goal near the end of the game to make things interesting for a second, but I think the Predators are going to need to have some really difficult conversations, because what we're watching right now is uncompetitive, uninspiring, flat out boring hockey. I love hockey.
Mhm.
I will watch the Predators. One, because it's part of my job, and two, because I love hockey. I love hockey. But this team is so hard to watch. It's not exciting. It would be one thing if they were losing, but it was back and forth and it was exciting, but this is not exciting. I know that the team made some changes to how they approach the game. It's just not working either way. So it's difficult. I just think that the Predators they've avoided the true rebuild for so long. And the longer they attempt to convince themselves that they don't need it, the bigger hole they're going to dig for themselves, the longer it's going to take for them to be competitive again. And when I say competitive, I mean a team that could actually win a championship.
But don't you think they are, even though, yes, they're not trying to lose, but they're going out there and losing. But don't you think they can still get what you want them to have, even while trying to win? Because obviously they're trying to win now, and what's happening? They're not winning. They tried to win last year. What happened? They didn't win. They end up getting a top 5 pick. This year, if it continues to go that way, they will get another top 5 pick. So he doesn't have to come out and say we're doing a rebuild. The record is telling him, listen, whether you want to do it or not, you're gonna have a top 5 pick. You had one last year, you may have one this year, and you may have one next year. So even if you don't want to rebuild, it's gonna happen.
The rebuild is happening to them.
Exactly.
They're
not initiating it.
Right.
It's happening to them.
And that's not great.
No,
that's not great that it's happening to them. They should be proactive. They should be trying to do this. It shouldn't be happening to them.
But don't you think Barry, I believe that if and when Barry gets to that point, then he's gonna make a decision. He's going to either, if we ain't winning, we got to get another coach. We got to do something to shake this thing up. I think if they don't, then they leave him no choice, but because he's always said, I'm going to do what's best for the team, not an individual. If I do what's best for the team and it benefits you, then great. But I am going to do what's best for this organization. So that tells me that, okay, he's giving him some leeway. The leeway was this year or parts of this year. And if it continues to go the way it has been going, they haven't been able to score, then I'm going to make a change, because I'm not that arrogant or bullheaded or stubborn to think that I'm going to see anything different after a year and a half.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll take your thoughts on the Predators, who lost 5-2 last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning, ending their 5-game homestand 2-3-0. They are back in action tomorrow night on the road against the Philadelphia Flyers. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
I think of everything all the time. To say it hasn't, I would be a lie. But at the same time, I try to prepare for everything. I don't. I'm not looking to do anything there. I do make sure that Stephen can make his mark here. I mean, that was one of the reasons that I wanted to get Stephen is that, I knew it was going to be a tough process coming from Tampa Bay, where he was drafted, where he lived, where he's going to probably retire. And there was a lot of bonds and a lot of successes and a lot of water under the bridge in terms of his time there. And then I knew there was going to be an adjustment period, and then I was hoping that Stammer could really make his mark here.
That was Predators GM Barry Trotz on our show yesterday discussing Steven Stamkos. When we had Sportsnet NHL insider Elliot Freeman on the program last week, he said that he wonders if at some point Barry Trotz and Steven Stamkos will need to sit down and discuss their respective futures, meaning Stamkos' future and the Predators' future, and whether they are aligned. And I thought that was an interesting response from Barry Trotz, asking him if that is something he has considered. Steven Stamkos has not been good. A lot of Predators players have not been good, but Stamkos stands out. He has 1 goal this season. He is shooting 4% on the season. That will bounce back. But even then, I just haven't noticed him on the ice very much. And sometimes I wonder if he would rather be somewhere where he has another chance to win. And I don't know how you're going to get somebody to take Steven Stamkos off your hands. He has an $8 million cap hit. You can retain half of it. He has a full no movement clause, which means that he has the total authority to accept a trade or nix a trade. So we'll see what happens there. But again, as I said before, as I'm watching this team play, this team that can't score goals, again, the Predators have scored 2 or fewer goals 8 times in 11 games. That leads the NHL. On paper, this team should be able to score more, but they just can't. And I don't really have any other way to put it. One texter on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com, says, yes, last night was not desirable, but you talk like the Predators aren't competing. We won 2 games in a row against top teams, and we're right there with Dallas before last night. This, Derek, this is dangerous thinking. No disrespect to this texter who did not leave their name. This is dangerous thinking. We won 2 games in a row against top teams, and we're right there with Dallas before last night. Sure. But I'm not just looking at the past few games. I'm looking at the big picture. I want Predators fans to have a hockey team that they know can compete in April, May, and June. And there was a time, not too long ago, that the Predators had a team that could compete in April, May, and June. So sure, they beat the Canucks. They beat the Kings in the 9-round shootout. They lost by 1 to the Dallas Stars. The Predators led that game 2-0, by the way, if I recall correctly. That's great. That's dangerous thinking. Well, we were competitive in these few games. I'm looking at the big picture here. I don't see a team that is competitive. And I will state this once again. My definition of competitive is not, hey, can you make the playoffs where everything can happen? No. My definition is, can you legitimately win the Stanley Cup this season? For the Predators, the answer is no. And I don't know when that's going to happen again. Brian on our text line says, with Trotz's history, the fans have given him a lot of slack. But at what point do we look at him and say this product he's put on the ice isn't working and something needs to change? Am I crazy for thinking this way? No, Brian, you aren't crazy for thinking that way. One thing, Derek, that I have found fascinating since Barry Trotz returned to Nashville is when Barry Trotz returned to Nashville, when the Predators announced that David Poile would be retiring, we all had the warm and fuzzies, right?
Mhm.
Who doesn't love Barry Trotz? He is a great man. He is a great ambassador of this organization and the city. I always enjoy my conversations with Barry Trotz. I heard somebody say once that if you don't like Barry Trotz, there's something wrong with you,
I'm sure.
not him. And I completely agree with that. Barry Trotz could have an engaging conversation with a houseplant. Like that's, I have a lot of respect for Barry Trotz. But the one thing that I always found interesting was what's going to happen when, if or when the team starts struggling. All of those warm and fuzzies are going to go away. I thought those warm and fuzzies were sort of like this built-in force field
Mhm.
for Barry Trotz at the beginning. If things don't go well right away, people will cut him some slack because he's Barry Trotz. But I think that force field has eroded. And I think Predators fans are wondering, what are we doing here, Barry? So, Brian, I don't think you are crazy for thinking that.
Mhm.
Another texter, let's see. Another texter, Neil, says, if Bruno is let go, which coach is going to come in and get this team to score goals and start winning games? I don't see any coach coming in and winning with this roster. That may be true.
Mhm.
But once again, it is proven that teams perform better after making coaching changes. You saw it last year. For example, the Boston Bruins fired Jim Montgomery early in the season. The St. Louis Blues hired Jim Montgomery, and they were, I think, one of the best teams in the league from the time he was hired by the Blues through the end of the regular season. So it happens. But I get the texter's point. I get Neil's point. It doesn't matter if you hire Pete DeBoer, who's still out there, or another coach. Are you going to get this team to score more goals? I don't know, but you got to try something. Let's go to Rob on, it says Rob from a car phone. Hello, Rob from a car phone. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks very much. So Barry Trotz might be as sweet as pumpkin pie, but who cares? Like, who cares if he's a sweet, nice guy? I want to see a winning team. And last night when I watched, I was amazed because I was so excited to see Crispy delivering the starting lineup, and I saw about as much heart in that dressing room as nothing. Like, there was no jump. There was no what's missing. The heart of this team is absent. Their identity is absent. Don't tell me they won 2 in a row. They were lucky to win those 2 games. One of them they were scored at, or they were outshot 2-1. If it wasn't for Saros, it would have been a very, very different story. This team needs a new coach, and yes, Stammer needs to sit down with Stammer and move him along. Is not the right guy for the team right now. But bottom line is we need to bring in some heart, some guts, some gumption. Something is missing, and I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Rob.
The fear with this, because listening to the caller and he talked about Crispy speech, and he didn't feel that watching it was no life in the room. The fear now is you losing the locker room, because last year when Barry was making this decision, what did he say? He said, I had to talk to the players, and I had to talk to a few of them again. So if you're not getting like that energy and that thing you need within a locker room to sort of get you out of, whatever funk you're in, a lot of times you start to lose the faith. The players start losing faith in you. The players start thinking, we tried everything and it still ain't working. And some of it is the players, but some players don't look at it that way. They look at it as the head coach. He's not put me in a position to win. Things are not going consistently well the way we need it to. They don't believe in what he's preaching anymore. I'm not saying it's happening now, but that's the fear, that they stop believing in what you're coaching and preaching every day. The minute that happens, you see a bad team become worse. That's what I'm worried about with the Tennessee Titans. And that's what I'm worried about with the Nashville Predators, that if you don't start winning consistently, those players, they will lose faith in, or could potentially lose faith in what you're saying to them, because they look at it as, okay, we're doing all these things that you're asking us to do, but we're not getting anything from it. We're not getting wins. Things are not looking better. And then that's when, hopefully, by that time, or even before it happens, Barry steps in and he makes a change, because you never want to make a change where you've completely at a locker room, you've completely lost the locker room. What you want to try to do is nip it in the bud, meaning do what you need to do with the head coach. And I'm not saying he needs to fire him right now, but I'm saying you don't want to get to a point where now the players start questioning what's going on.
So the texter who sent in the text about the team competing has responded. Sure, dangerous thinking, but games are still a blast, like the 9-round shootout and a 4-4 game on the Saturday night. Unfortunately, we have games like last night, but oh God. But in 2017, we were the last team in, and look what happened. I don't like to use this term. I really don't. I try not to use this word in my everyday life.
Waybackism. I'm going to call it waybackism.
That's not even the word. I don't like to use this word. I hate that line of thinking. Well, in 2017, wake up. It's 2025.
That's waybackism.
Yes, it's 2025. I was there in 2017. I covered every game of that playoff run. It was a blast. I know that there have been examples of teams that sneak into the playoffs and do great things. And I swear to God, if one of you sends me something about the St. Louis Blues going worst to first, I swear to God.
Please send it. Yes, send it.
Do it. Please do it.
I swear to God, you will be banned from this program.
Do it. I'm not banning you. Do it.
I won't ban you either.
You will be banned from this program. Oh, man. Ricky on our text line says they have Luke Richardson sitting back. They are waiting. The staff is full of guys fired all over and never proven. They need a heart and soul Tutu type of guy, Jordan Tutu type of guy, who will run someone and light up the building. They are missing a spark plug guy, a couple of centers, and a proven coach. Anything else? And that's on the GM. Barry Trotz is a great guy, but NHL teams plummet quickly, and they are headed straight downhill. And that was the caller's point as well about this team not having enough heart. I think there are guys in that locker room who care. I think Ryan O'Reilly is trying his hardest to get this team to play hard. I also think that Ryan O'Reilly is the Predators' version of Jeffrey Simmons. I think Ryan O'Reilly is the player who can fetch you something of value in a trade. But if you recall, last year, it was reported, and Barry Trotz essentially confirmed it, that he was treating Ryan O'Reilly like he had trade protection in his contract, although he does not have trade protection in his contract. I really like Ryan O'Reilly. I don't think the Predators should operate that way. The same way the Titans are saying, Jeffrey Simmons is off limits. I'm not saying that you're going to get this huge haul for Ryan O'Reilly, but he's a proven winner. He's won the Stanley Cup with those Blues, and people are texting in. I'm not going to read those texts. People are texting in. He won the Stanley Cup with the Blues. He's been a Conn Smythe Trophy winner, which means he was the MVP of the playoffs. He's a center, and we know it's hard to get those. I think you could get a decent return for Ryan O'Reilly. So I think if this thing goes south, I think Ryan O'Reilly needs to go somewhere else.
But you said that more than likely they won't be able to get back a lot or much in a trade for Ryan O'Reilly. So, because I look at it from this standpoint, because it's not like football. I like to sort of connect the dots with football and every other sport.
Right.
But unlike football, if I trade away a guy, get a second round pick, more than likely that second round guy is going to play for me right now.
Right.
It's not like that in hockey. So why give away Riley? And yeah, you get a pick back, but you may not see this guy on the ice for another 6-7 years.
I know that's part of the problem, right? But
Yeah.
you're trying to stockpile assets. You can also use those assets to trade for NHL players. You can take that draft pick you get for Ryan O'Reilly and use it to trade for maybe a younger version of Ryan O'Reilly, for example. 615-737-1025. We will continue to take your thoughts on the Predators. One texter says, a town that will remain nameless. LOL.
Yes.
Don't you do it. Don't you dare. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Vanderbilt is taking on Texas this weekend. But there was a report over the weekend linking someone on the sidelines this weekend with the Tennessee Titans. And we will get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025. DVD is presented by Bax Homeworks, which transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com.
I'd love to touch on this, so bear with me for a second, because it really pisses me off that one person can make a report that in turn the entire media sports world runs with as factual, to the point of my agency and my agents have to put a statement out that they never have done. Historically, CAA, Jimmy Sexton, and Ed Manowitz have never do that. But I had to do that to protect my locker room and my team. And I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I thought it was completely unprofessional of that person to put that report out. And the fact that everybody ran with it is borderline embarrassing for the media. And I respect what you guys do. I really do. And everybody else. But the fact that everybody ran that as truth is really embarrassing. Okay, so I've got a small circle when I make decisions on what I do and what I don't do, and nobody would speak on my behalf without me knowing. And so where that report came from, I'd love to talk to that person because it's absolutely ridiculous.
That was Texas coach Steve Sarkisian last weekend responding to a report by the Athletics' Diana Rossini. Now, keep in mind, Texas is hosting Vanderbilt on Saturday morning, 11 a.m. kickoff. Diana Rossini reported last weekend, quote, "I'm told that representatives for Texas coach Steve Sarkisian have let NFL decision makers know that he would be interested in potential head coach openings, including the Titans." So that was Diana Rossini over the weekend. As Sarkisian said in that clip, his agency released a statement, quote, "Any reports regarding communications on coaching opportunities with NFL teams are patently false and wildly inaccurate. Sark is solely focused on coaching the University of Texas football team." Now, Derek, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You have one non-negotiable when it comes to the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans. No college coaches. So I would imagine that Steve Sarkisian would not be on your list. Although Sarkisian does have 2 years of NFL coaching experience as the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons in 2017 and 2018.
He was he coached, I think he coached quarterbacks with the Raiders in 04. That was way back when. Don't worry about it. But
those two seasons, the Falcons had respectable offenses, top half of the league in points per game. And as a college coach, he's been successful with Texas and Washington and USC. And he was the offensive coordinator at Alabama as well. So I know that Sarkisian is probably off limits to you, but what do you make of that report that he has firmly denied?
I mean, it's part of it's part of being a head coach at a Power 5 conference at a school that probably has the biggest wallets in all of college football in Texas. So when people start to get fired, especially the firings we've seen, LSU, Penn State, Florida, 3 to name. His name is going to be mentioned. Now, I am with him like, listen, to say my name may be in the pool, yes, but to say you heard it from one of my people and throw that out there as if it's truth, then no, that's not what I'm cool with. But if you just want to, hey, this is a name that you might want to look out for, Steve Sarkisian. He's coached in the NFL. He's been an OC. He's been a quarterback coach. That's cool. But to make it seem like people close to him says he's interested in these jobs. He may be, he may not be. I don't know. But I understand how that could upset, the coach, because it probably truly doesn't upset him. But now you got your players thinking. It messes up recruiting. The minute that story comes out, it messes up recruiting, because what happens? Everybody wants to know, well, is he staying? So that 5-star quarterback or receiver you have, he may think you leaving now. Now he may take a trip to Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State, somewhere, because he thinks you're leaving. So I understand Sark when he says that's irresponsible. Don't do that. But if you just want to leak his name, like he could be, then okay, that's cool. Because Clark Lee's name was thrown out there as a potential hire for an NFL team or another college out there.
Ben in Cumberland City on our text line says, watch Brusini's statement on that. Her body language shows she got caught making stuff up. She's getting flamed on X, I think. It's funny. I think she was on the Dan Lebertard show. She's on there a lot. So I guess she addressed it. I haven't heard the clip. But I'm also wondering if Sarkisian would be interested in the NFL. Things haven't gone incredibly well for the Longhorns this season. They've only lost 2 games, but they were, I can't, they lost by a blowout right at the beginning of the season to Ohio State.
Was it a blowout? Oh, I know Ohio State beat them. Ohio State was the better team. Let's just put it that way. I don't know how many.
14. It was only 14-7. It was only 14-7. But for some reason, I thought it might be a blowout. But Arch Manning's season has been up and down, and now he's concussed. I haven't seen an update. That is important considering Texas is playing Vanderbilt in a few days. So I wonder if maybe if the honeymoon phase is over at Texas, Sarkisian goes, maybe the NFL might be a good place for me to go. One texter says, recruiting incoming freshmen for football is not what it used to be in college football. Now you have to have skill in going to the portal and getting players you need. Some kids you recruit today is going to jump in the portal in a year and go somewhere else, very likely anyway. I think I got all of that. One texter says, LOL, that 5-star quarterback ain't visiting Michigan State, Derek.
Stop it. Yes, he is. Don't say that. Yes, he is. He's visiting. But I mean, listen, Sark wouldn't fit what I want in a head coach.
Even though he has NFL offensive coordinating experience.
Absolutely. I think this team is too entrenched or too stuck in the phase that they're in. This team is not equipped to have a guy that hasn't been a head coach in this league, that it's been 6 years since he's been in the NFL, I think, somewhere around there.
He was the offensive coordinator in 2017 and 2018 in Atlanta.
Almost 10 years. But I just don't think for the Titans, I'm not saying in the NFL period. I've watched this team closely, and a guy like Sark wouldn't be the guy that I hire. He just wouldn't be. I would go with more so of Vrabel, Tomlin, John Harbaugh, God Campbell, guys like that that has that presence to rally the troops when they're not doing so well. And I don't see Sark as that type of coach, not for the Titans anyway.
It has been brought to my attention that Arch Manning did practice today, but remains in concussion protocol. So he hasn't been cleared, it sounds like, but he did practice today, which I suppose puts him on track to play against Vanderbilt on Saturday. And that will be an interesting quarterback matchup. Arch Manning versus Diego Pavia. I can't think, and we'll dig more into this later this week, but I'm thinking of 2 quarterbacks from completely different walks of life. You have Arch Manning. The Manning legacy is in his veins, right? He's a prodigy. He's supposed to be great. He's a Manning. And then you have Diego Pavia, who had to scratch and claw from the JUCO ranks to make it to Vanderbilt. And he's been one of the best stories in college football. So that's a really interesting storyline within the matchup on Saturday.
I wonder, because whether it was, Texas and Arch Manning coming in this week, or if it was, Kennesaw State, when you have a player that has had a concussion and was removed from a game, I've always been a proponent of he does not need to play the next game. He doesn't. No, because my thing is, he's not hit all week. They're being very careful with how they proceed with him. Yeah, he may practice a little bit here and there, but they don't want to, give him too much. And then he doesn't have a regular week. So then you want to throw him out there in the game. I've never been a proponent of this, ever. I don't care who it is. That tells me you don't care about the player. You don't. And I've always said this. If you go out of the game with a concussion, it should be like, you gotta practice full go the whole week before we let you back in the game, before we let you play. Like full go, not, oh, he's gonna practice a period over here where it's just throwing the football around, or he's gonna go through walkthrough. No, you put on those pads and you go through a whole practice for the whole week, and then that gives me a better idea of how far along are you from that concussion. Not, oh, we're gonna keep him inside for a while because he may be sensitive to light. We're not going to put too much stress on him. We're not going to do this. We're going to bring him along slowly and then throw him out there in the game Saturday. And he ends up getting slung around, hit his back, hit his head again. And what happens to Tua will happen to him. That's why I'm not a proponent of that, letting him play the next game. I don't care if it was Arch Manning or Diego Pavia. If it was Diego Pavia, I would be saying the same thing.
One texter says, I cannot wait for the Diego hype train to be over.
Why?
It ain't pulling over anytime soon, buddy. Toot, toot.
I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep putting that coal in the fire.
Actually,
keep putting that coal in the stove.
Actually, I think the train whistle would say, toot, 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 toot.
That's his hat, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
hashtag two turned, right?
Yeah.
615-737-1025. Toot, toot. That's the Diego Pavia hype train. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick will join us coming up next. We'll keep it in the SEC and talk about the wild coaching carousel that I think is about to get underway in the SEC. 615-737-1025. The MTSU Blue Raiders are not in the SEC, but they will take on Jacksonville State tonight at 6:30. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3, with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com.
Derek Mason here, and if you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. There's nothing like a shiny new helmet. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when they need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson. You can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David James, and Willie Donick. Willie Donick has joined us live from Philadelphia, where the Predators will take on the Flyers tomorrow evening. Hello, Willie. How are you?
Hello, gentlemen. Good to be in the city of brotherly love. Or I'm setting you up on a tee, Adam, your favorite joke.
The city of brothers getting mugged? I told that story at the
Yeah, he
beginning of the show.
said-
Yes, you've told that several times. And, I figured
It's
now's
a
another
go-to.
good time.
It's a
Now's
go-to.
It's
Yes.
a go-to.
Is the city of Philadelphia the only city in the world that has a statue dedicated to a fictional character?
No, they're statues of Mickey Mouse.
I don't know.
right?
At Disney
Well,
World,
Yeah, maybe outside. Are the statues of Mickey only at Disney World?
I haven't
Willie?
seen a statue of Mickey Mouse in the wild.
Off the grounds, you mean? Of
Yes.
Disney World?
Yes.
Just hanging out next to the store.
Right.
A 7-Eleven,
Would you-
you see a Mickey.
Exactly. You may be right about that one, Adam.
I'm talking, of course, about Rocky. There is
Yeah.
a statue
Yes.
of Rocky in Philadelphia. Also, it was suggested to me by Matt from Paris on our text line, Paris, Tennessee, I assume.
Mhm.
Although
No, I'm gonna say it's Paris.
you
I'm
know
gonna say
who
it's Paris.
Jake Lyman is headed to Paris right now with the Vanderbilt women's basketball
Oh,
team. He's
yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Paris for 6 days.
They look good the other night. I
That's
watched them a
cool.
little bit, versus
Rub it in,
Memphis.
Jake.
Those girls look pretty good.
Yeah, Michaela Blake's not
Mhm.
half bad. But Matt from Paris says, Adam, never make that sound again. I don't know if Willie heard the sound. Should I do
Give
it
it
for
to 'em
Willie?
again. Give it to 'em
Do
again.
it.
Okay. So Willie, earlier, somebody texted that they can't wait for the Diego Pavia hype train to cool off. And I said, no, you got to hop on that train. Choo choo. But then I said, actually, the Diego Pavia hype train would say, 2 turns.
People don't like that. It irritated one of our listeners.
I think Miz has no Riz. It was a better play. It was a better play.
Josh says there is a huge Superman statue in Metropolis, Illinois.
Oh, see?
This is true.
Yeah.
I have seen that.
I've never
I have
seen
seen
it, but
that.
there we go.
And apparently there's a Yoda one in San Francisco.
I'm looking at this
Oh.
Superman statue. It doesn't have the same gravitas as the Rocky statue in Philadelphia. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad we have the bell back again. I need a travel bell. We
Yes,
need to
you
get
do.
one of those. But anyway, Willie, before you came on, we were talking about that report from over the weekend linking Steve Sarkisian to the Tennessee Titans head coaching opening. And I thought it would be a good segue into what I anticipate will be a crazy coaching carousel in college football, but specifically in the SEC. There were 0 head coaching changes in the SEC last year, and there have already been 3 so far this season. It's not even November. It will be November this weekend. Sam Pittman out at Arkansas, Billy Napier out at Florida, and most recently, Brian Kelly out at LSU. I'm wondering if Hugh Freeze could be out at Auburn. Could Mark Stoops be out at Kentucky? What about Shane Beamer at South Carolina? So there are a ton of openings. We talked about this the other day around the country, high-profile programs. But Willie, I'm looking at what could be a huge amount of turnover in the SEC in terms of the coaching. But what's even better about it is you could see some coaches go from SEC school to SEC school. I think it all revolves around Lane Kiffin. Whatever Lane Kiffin decides to do, that is the first domino that has to fall. But I am fascinated by what could be a captivating coaching carousel in the SEC over the offseason.
The stage is set, no doubt about it. It's always something to watch. But the level of insanity, and I sent you guys some reading material I had on the plane to Philadelphia today from Will Leach from The Athletic. It was just well written about just the level of insanity of college football, how it's always been emotional, it's always been insane, but we've gone to a new level now where and we've been documenting this as it's happened. You go from number 1 in the country to fired in 5 or 6 weeks. You go from number 4 in the country to fired in 5 or 6 weeks. And it's irrational. So as far as other schools following suit and, firing their coach and throwing their hat in the ring, I do wonder, like, is that smart? Like, I know that it's kind of trendy or just kind of the way it works, that you just do the irrational, you just fire the guy and worry about it later. But with the way you can turn your roster over in a year, as Clark Lee did, went from the bottom of the heap to where they are now in a pretty short period of time, just with a different approach and smart allocation of funds. Are you better hunkering down with your coach and not just doing the easy thing and doing what people have done for so long, just can your coach and start over? I think it's a great question. But you're right. With the guys that are out there and the leverage they're going to have, it's going to be theater for sure. And it'll be while the playoffs are going on in a lot of cases.
Derek, our very own Joe Rexrode for The Athletic, played matchmaker for these college coaching openings or potential openings. Here's what Rexrode said. You tell me what you think. He has Lane Kiffin to LSU, so leaving Ole Miss, going to LSU. He has Eli Drinkwitz of Missouri, leaving Missouri to go to Florida. Rexrode has Dan Mullen, who, you may not know this, is coaching at UNLV. He has Dan Mullen replacing Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. And he has Mike Norvell, currently at Florida State, going to Missouri to replace Drinkwitz. So just some of the matchmaking that Rexrode did for The Athletic. Kiffin to LSU, Drinkwitz to Florida, Dan Mullen to Ole Miss, Mike Norvell to Missouri.
I think Lane to LSU would probably. I think Lane at any SEC school would fit. I just think he has a personality and the charisma, and you like him enough, but you hate him just enough too. So he can go to any school in the SEC, but I think LSU. Because obviously what would happen is the quarterback would transfer more than likely. Is he a senior this year or sophomore, junior at Ole Miss?
Oh, he's like 33 years old.
Oh yeah, that guy's not going nowhere there.
he's been in college for a long time. But see, that's what intrigues me about this whole thing.
Mhm.
I do wonder if you're Lane Kiffin, are you sure you want to leave? Like, you're the hero of Ole Miss. Are you like the definition used to be all the time? Can you win a national championship at X? And if you were a coach that was not X, it was like automatic. That's the school I'm going to go to. And I'll give you one that happened right in Nashville. When James Franklin left Vanderbilt to go to Penn State, I think that was probably the prevailing thought. He'd done great things. He loved Vanderbilt. But at the time, I think if you polled 100 experts and you asked, can you win a national championship at Vanderbilt? And can you win a national championship at Penn State? We know what the vote would have been. Now, I don't know if it's the same. And is it going to be like this in the next 2, 3, 4 years as we go forward? Or will things settle back in to the, quote, norm? Because the norm has been upset right now.
Of course, the norm has been upset, and we all understand why, because of NIL in the transfer portal. These guys and girls can transfer it seemed like at will. So it makes, which is good in a sense, because it makes the playing field a little bit more balanced, because unless you are, not a Power 5 team, if you're a Power 5 team, then you should have the money to pay, players coming in. So I think the landscape, I think everything has been changed anyway in regards to, well, can you win here? Can you win there? I think you can basically, in today's football, with how the movement is, you can win anywhere. Ask Clark Lee. You can just about win anywhere in a Power 5 school if you make the right move, the right time, and build the right way, because the landscape is so open right now that it's just all free range. It's like, okay, I want that guy or that girl or that guy, or I'm gonna give you this money this year, and then the next school is gonna come and poach you the next year to try to make their team better. It's leveled the playing field, at least in the Power 5, or at least let's just say the SEC and the Big Ten, because now I can pay you and I got the money to do it.
Will Leach, Adam, reminded everybody in his article that Lane Kiffin, who, if he chooses to be, and I'm playing devil's advocate, right? Like, how do we know Lane Kiffin wants to leave? What if Ole Miss wins the whole thing this year? They've got a great team, but if he does want to go out on the market, he's at least going to get an enormous wage, but he'll be the most sought after. And Will Leach speculates that he could be the highest paid coach in college football. He goes, this is a guy that not too long ago was fired, getting off the team bus on the tarmac, flying home from a game. He was left on the tarmac. The team got on the plane and went home. He stayed. He got canned. This guy could be the highest paid coach ever.
It is funny because when a team performs poorly, a lot of the fans, or not a lot of the fans, some fans will say, leave him behind. Don't let him back on the bus. It actually happened to Lane Kiffin.
It actually happened.
It
for
actually
USC.
happened
They
to
left
Lane
their coach.
Kiffin.
But
Yeah.
I can't. It would have to be, because is this a money play for Lane Kiffin, or would he really want to leave Ole Miss? Because
Well,
Listen,
let's talk this out.
yeah, that's
Go ahead.
yeah. So because to me, is Ole Miss, like, from a historic standpoint, in Alabama or Texas
No.
or Georgia? No, they're not. But you don't need to be. You don't. So to me, Lane, they love Lane at Ole Miss because he's going to continue to win. No matter, he's going to win. That's just him. Now, will he win the big one? That's a different story. But he's going to win. So if I'm Lane, I know I'm getting the athletes. I got the facilities. Why are you even thinking about leaving? Money. I want more money. Because if say LSU, realistically, how far along is LSU than Ole Miss?
How far along
Like
is LSU?
who's
from Ole
closer
Miss?
to a championship?
Hmm.
I would say Ole Miss right now.
At the moment, yes.
Yes,
Right
Ole
now,
Miss. So
yes.
why would I leave knowing that I can continue to build here at Ole Miss? You would only
think the
leave
answer-
is money.
It's all about the
Yes.
money.
Well,
That's-
and not
that's the
necessarily
answer.
money that you get paid, right? I think all
Mhm.
these coaches, as we're seeing, when you get fired, you're getting paid.
Yeah, I think
a
it's
ton of money.
staff and everything else.
But it's staff, and it's because this is the unknown. There's not a salary cap, and we know that there's the revenue sharing money that you get
Mhm.
that each school divvies up. But then on top of that, we know that there's that third party, and so the ammo that you have to fight with year in and year out to rebuild your roster every year. Because let's be honest, you have to rebuild your roster every year. It's not
Mhm.
like it used to be where, like, you got these 5-star recruits and they're sitting as true freshmen, and then they're coming in their second or third year and replacing the 5-star that you just left. Building a roster is completely different now. So I think the question for Lane Kiffin will be, A, does he love living in
Mhm.
Oxford? But B, does he have way less to work with at Oxford than he would at LSU or Florida or somewhere else? Because I don't even think it's about recruiting territory anymore. I think
No,
that's
it's not.
the lines are getting blurred. It's not like a kid grows up and, like, oh yeah, I grew up in the Bayou, so I'm going to go to LSU. Not as much anymore, right? There's still that kid, I'm sure, out there that grew up wanting to play for them, but I think it's a little bit more like, okay, what are you giving me? Is my offer better here than it is over there? Okay, I'll go over here.
A reminder as well that Lane Kiffin, when he coached Tennessee, this was more than 15 years ago, was banned from a high school in Florida for making not so flattering comments about the school. Let me see if I can find those comments. It was about if he didn't go to Tennessee, he was going to be pumping gas for the rest of. Okay, here it is. No, that's different.
Lane is.
Oh, that's a
Yes.
different incident. Yes, but
Yes.
that happened too.
Among the things Kiffin was quoted as saying after prying Pahokee receiver Nukese Richardson away from Florida on signing day was, quote, "For those of you who haven't been to Pahokee, there ain't much going on. You take that hour drive up from South Florida, there ain't a gas station that works. Nobody's got enough money to even have shoes or a shirt on."
Wow.
And then he was banned from the school.
School said no more.
So this is the guy who everybody wants right now. And
Mhm.
he's learned.
Yeah,
He's grown
learned.
up.
He hadn't done
But-
those things.
but
and said,
Lane
"Look,
He has
Kiffin-
grown up.
Yes.
He's still a little, as Derek likes to say, he's got a couple screws
Oh, yeah,
loose,
you
but
gotta
a lot
have
of the
them.
great coaches do. A lot
Exactly.
of great coaches do.
You gotta have a few loose. You
But
can't all be tight.
I'll also never forget. And Tennessee fans are thinking, we have our own stories. I think the pumping the gas, the rest of your life, that happened at UT. He had like 7 or 8 violations in a very short period of time. Remember, he only was there for a year, and then he left sort of right in the middle of the night, kind of thing. Like all of a sudden, he was gone to USC, and everybody started burning the mattresses on campus. Remember that? Like
That
it
is
was
bad.
crazy.
That is
So Kiffin told Alshon Jeffrey and his coach, apparently, that Jeffrey would be pumping gas for the rest of his life like all the other players from the state of South Carolina if he signed with the Gamecocks.
Well, that was a lie. That was definitely a lie.
Alshon Jeffrey had a nice NFL career.
Hopefully Lane has learned and it seems like he has. But my thing is, you are right, Willie, from the with everything. But I'm saying from the standpoint of, it's not just about how much money I'm going to get, because regardless of if he stays at Ole Miss or chooses to go to LSU or Florida, he's going to get paid. I think it's the other stuff that you're talking about. Will the boosters be committed each and every year to giving money? Because that's what they're going to need eventually. Every school needs it. Money to go out and pay players to bring them in. So, yeah, you're giving me $12 million, but if you ain't funding things for us, you just paying me to be mediocre because I need players. So I can see if Ole Miss isn't committed, which it doesn't seem like they're not committed because they're winning, they're getting the players. So it seems like they're committed. But at what level are they committed moving forward? I guess that would be Lane's thing. Okay, LSU, they're committed here. Where are you committed, Ole Miss? That's what it may come down to ultimately.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. We will take your thoughts on the college coaching carousel and all of the chaos that could be coming in the SEC. You know I love chaos. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll talk about a coach who's close to home and his role in all of this. 615-737-1025. You know what? I think we have some tickets to give away. So why don't we do that now? Be caller number 5, says Derek Mason. If you want a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Vancouver Canucks at Bridgestone Arena this Monday, November 3rd, be caller number 5. 615-737-1025. A pair of tickets can be yours to see the Predators take on the Canucks this Monday. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
All right, let's tell you about Lone Pronto and their game. What is their game? Well, you know what it is. If you listen to our show, they've got the lowest rates going right now in 3 years. I'm talking about mortgage rates. So if you haven't thought about it, you're like, hey, what is my mortgage rate? Well, check it, because if it's high, if it's up in the 5s, the 6s, the 7s, the 8s, well, Lone Pronto's rapid equity loan can get you a quick answer on that. And they can take it a step further. They can lock you into a lower rate, save you money every month, and you're going to skip your next 2 house payments. Also, they can hook you up with a rapid equity loan, and you can get cash out of your home's equity if you need to pay off some bills, like a high interest credit card or a car loan that's got a high interest rate. These are good game plan strategies financially. So call Loan Pronto and see how much cash you're eligible for, see what your rate is, because rates are a 3-year low. They're not going to last like this forever. So call Loan Pronto at 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com and get that free instant home appraisal. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
you've definitely established an amazing culture, so much so that we're seeing all these openings in these big time schools going on, and your name's slowly getting sprinkled around a little bit. Hey, Clark Lee's at Vanderbilt. Like, what's gonna at Florida look kind of nice on Clark Lee? Hey, LSU's looking pretty solid. When these things are coming up, obviously it's a massive compliment to not only you but to your players and the product that they're putting on the field. But how are you handling that noise, not just with the team, but also with your family as well?
Yeah. Well, look, the standard response is when you're getting attention, it's a good thing because, it means you're having success. And there's truth to that. Obviously, these kind of, early season, mid-season coaching changes are just brutal to me, a brutal part of this business. And this is such a personal, it's such a human endeavor. And you guys know, because y'all have done it. I mean, your connection with your team is like it's a family connection, or at least it is for us. So I couldn't imagine not being able to finish out a journey with a group of guys that have poured so much into this. And so I don't love that this becomes kind of the nature of the beast here, middle of the season.
That was Clark Lee on Bussin' with the Boys. We, of course, have Clark Lee on our program every Monday during football season. But that was a sliver of a longer answer to that question from Taylor Lewan. And later in that answer, Clark Lee said that he even had a talk with his son because he didn't want his son to go to school and have his friends say, hey, I heard about this with your dad and that with your dad. And Clark said he told his son, don't believe anything until it comes from me. If something's happening, you will hear it from me first. But, Willie, it reminds me of a small comment that was made during College Game Day. If you missed it, during this segment where the College Game Day panel, Pat McAfee, Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit, and Nick Saban, were answering a variety of questions about college football. There was a question about coaching. And Nick Saban said quickly, Vanderbilt better do something to keep Clark Lee around here because he's going to go someplace. And I know that Clark is devoted to Vanderbilt. But with everything that he has done to help build up that program, as we're talking about this college football coaching carousel, I am genuinely curious about how much interest Clark Lee is going to get around the country.
It's a complicated question because I don't think, and I could be completely wrong, I don't think he is going to put his hat in the ring and seek a job. And I don't think deep down, as much as I was hoping James Franklin would stick it out a little bit longer, he was only at Vanderbilt for 3 years. And he had back-to-back 9-win years. But I think James Franklin was viewing the next step and was thinking, where can I springboard and win a national championship? I don't think Clark Lee is wired that way. And of course, he grew up in Nashville. His parents, his grandparents, his family is Nashville. So I don't know if he's going to go seeking it. You would be very wise, though, to take advantage of the leverage that you get when you are the hot name out there. You want to use it to your advantage, and you don't want to be taken for granted, right? Because that you're from Nashville and you went to Vanderbilt, that your bosses and the chancellor is like, well, Clark's not going anywhere. He's from Nashville. We're not going to lose Clark. Like, you have to be professional about it, and you have to try to work out the best thing. I think if Vanderbilt continues to invest in Clark Lee, and when I say invest, not maintain what they've given him, I think continue to increase and stay with the times. I think that's the key phrase I would use. Stay up with the Joneses. If he gets assurances that they'll do that, then I think he'll stay. But that's just how I view it. I could be completely wrong. But I don't see him at LSU, or I don't see him in Gainesville, unless he just is completely disappointed in the follow-ups to what he's built, right? Because there has to be a follow-up. You can't just be content, or else it's easy to get buried in this league, even if you've been good for a long time. You see what's happening at some of the schools. There's 15 good teams in the SEC right now.
Yeah, I look at Coach Lee. If and this is just me, I think and I don't think it's going to happen, but he's more of Penn State than LSU or Florida to me. I think his demeanor is more Penn State. How he approaches things, at least from my point of view, it's more Penn State. Not that it couldn't work at those other places, but if I had to play matchmaker, it would be Penn State with him. This is what happens, and he said it. This is what happens when your team becomes successful. And on top of that, not just any old team. It's a team that has been at the bottom of the SEC for a very long time. Now, they've inched their way out of the bottom a few times, but for the most part, they've been at the bottom of the SEC for a long time. So when you take a program, any program, and turn it around, your name is going to start floating around in circles. But when you take a team that has been historically bad and you help change that program, then yeah, you are going to be one of the hot names out there. Will he leave Vanderbilt? I don't know. I would love for him to stay here and continue to build what he's building now. But everything like Lane Kiffin, it's not so much about how much you're going to pay me, it's how much you're going to invest in our vision. That's what it is. And yes, you don't want them to take advantage of you because, oh, he'll never leave. He ain't going to do this. But they would ask, hey, take a hometown discount with your salary. And maybe, we'll do some other things around it. But you have to play your leverage while you have it. And I think his leverage would be obviously his assistants and then the future of the program, period. How are you going to continue to pour into the program? Because, listen, they can pay you all the money in the world. If they ain't pouring into the program, you're going to be doomed anyway. So, one, I can't see, at least not now, Clark Lee leaving. I'm not saying that he won't, but I think he would be worried more about how much you're going to invest in the program moving forward and his coaches than himself, like money-wise.
Yeah, and here is another thing to consider. I think I would tie this into our discussion in the last segment too, about if you're a coach and you're like, hey, I'm the hot guy right now. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get more and we're going to win. But I think knowing your surroundings in this volatile situation, we brought it up yesterday on the show of like, who are you answering to? Like, who's making the call? Who's donating all the money? I think Clark Lee is in a position now. He's been in Nashville his whole life. Not his whole life, because he left and went to a lot of different places and coached for a lot of different people and picked up a lot of knowledge, right? He was a college baseball player for a while. So he's got a unique experience outside of Nashville. But he knows Nashville. He knows the people he's working for. He knows the Vanderbilt people. He's known them for a long time. So I think he knows what he knows the answer to who am I answering to? Who am I working for? Who's calling the shots? If he were to go to Penn State or go to Florida or any of these other jobs, it's a complete wild card. It's brand new. And I think plenty of coaches have already been burned by that. And look, you never say never. The Vanderbilt fired Watson Brown, who was a beloved quarterback at the university who went up through the ranks as assistant. They fired him. It was late in the season, but they fired him during season. You heard Clark Lee's fretting, said, I can't imagine going on a journey and having to get off the ride in the middle of the season. I don't think that would ever happen for the people he's working for at Vanderbilt. They have shown patience and loyalty. It's not quite as insane as it is at LSU or Penn State. And I do think that means something to him.
The question is, does ambition and money mean more than the attachment to home? And I've gotten to know Clark Lee because we talk to him every week, but I don't know him exceptionally well. But I get the vibe that he isn't I was going to say the ambitious type. Of course, he's ambitious. You have to be ambitious to be a successful
Mhm.
coach. But I mean, I don't see Clark Lee using Vanderbilt as a stepping stone,
Mhm.
perhaps like James Franklin did all those years ago. And in the world we're living in now in college football, the playing field has been leveled by NIL and the transfer portal. And part of Vanderbilt's rapid ascent is the commitment the Commodores have made to being competitive in the SEC. We talked about this last week ahead of the Missouri game. There was a time when the SEC was expanding where people were having conversations about, should Vanderbilt even stay in the SEC, or will they drown under all of the other programs and the investments that those universities put into those programs? Vanderbilt is at a place now where they can compete in that realm. So I think that makes it less desirable, I guess you could say, Willie, for Clark Lee to leave Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is not an also ran anymore. It might be different in the previous world of college football, but I don't see it as much so now.
And I think you always have to remind yourself that when you're the hot guy in the moment, and this is why I think a lot of people make rash decisions, and because they can look at some of their colleagues and how they didn't strike while the iron was hot and they stayed somewhere and it didn't work. But let's not forget that 2 years ago, Vanderbilt was really struggling. At the time that you referenced, Adam, where Texas and Oklahoma were about to come into the league, Vanderbilt went winless in the league. And not only were they winless in the SEC, they weren't close to winning a game. They had regressed from the year before, where they pulled a couple of upsets. Remember, they beat Kentucky with Will Levis and Florida with Anthony Richardson. And we were joking about that. Like, how good of a pro prospect is this? They lost to Vanderbilt last year. Remember that was the running joke. But then they went from that to winning no games. They had a lot of players leave. And so he's gone from that to this in 2 years. And so in another 2 years, who knows what it will look like. But I do believe he will get a sense of loyalty and appreciation because he's taken Vanderbilt. Well, he hasn't done it yet. James Franklin won 9 games 2 years in a row, but he's on a track to possibly take Vanderbilt where they've never been before.
615-737-1025. Vanderbilt takes on Texas this Saturday. Another big matchup for the Commodores. 615-737-1025. But coming up next, there is a player on the Titans who Derek and Willie have expressed some real concern about. And we will discuss that player coming up next. 615-737-1025. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
Derek Mason here, and if you injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gear means to you, so they will help you get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Houston. You can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, they got to figure out a way to get more out of Sweat. I just don't know what more they could get out of him right now because it just seems like I'm just from it's not there. That's kind of like the best way I could put it.
Okay.
It's just not there with him, and maybe a change of scenery will help him. Maybe they got to get someone else to pour into him. I don't know, but what they're getting now is not it.
That was Teron Davenport on our program Monday talking about T'Vondre Sweat. And when TD said maybe T'Vondre Sweat needs a change of scenery, excuse me, my eyes kind of bulged out of my head a little bit.
Mhm.
He already needs a change of scenery, especially because Derek, last season when the Titans drafted T'Vondre Sweat, we had concerns about T'Vondre Sweat. Will he be well conditioned? When he's on the field, is he going to play a lot of snaps? Is he going to be impactful? And although he didn't have the sacks or the pressures necessarily, the Titans defense was exponentially better when he was on the field versus when he was off the field. And I thought, hey, all of those concerns we had about Sweat, I guess we don't have to sweat those. No pun intended. But to hear TD say that, and you and Willie, Derek, brought up on your own some concerns about T'Vondre Sweat that you noticed in the game on Sunday against Indianapolis. So where do the Titans go from here, excuse me, with T'Vondre Sweat?
Listen, you got to get them motivated somehow, some way. And it's with a season like they're having, it's hard. It gets harder and harder the longer the season gets or goes to walk in there and knowing you're a bad team, knowing that, listen, we don't have enough to beat teams in this league. But yet still you got to go in and do your job and be a professional. That's hard when everything around you is telling you you're a bad team. What I saw, and listen, I know Jeff is just, not Jeffrey, excuse me. I know T'Vondre is just coming off of his injury. I know he was out. He didn't practice. He didn't participate much in training camp. Hasn't played much this season because of the injury. So him coming back, what was that? His second game back. I just didn't see the same, or I haven't seen the same T'Vondre Sweat that I saw last year.
That was his third game of the season, but his second game back from the injury.
Yeah. I just didn't, and again, it could be because he's working himself back into the lineup. Because you can work out and you can do stuff on the side all you want to, but in order to get in game shape, you got to play games. So I'm hoping that's what it is with him, but I've seen one too many times where he's not giving, I believe, what is 100%. I don't think he's giving full max effort out there. That's it. That's just me. I'm not saying that's when it's hard, but when I watch him, I've seen on more than one time, more than twice, more than three times where he's getting pushed around. He's not attacking things from the back. Yeah, he's run down or run to some plays a couple of times. I get that. But I'm not seeing or anything close to the T'Vondre Sweat we saw last year. And what makes it more sort of more of a spotlight on it is Jeff's not there. So Jeff can't cover up like some of the lack of effort that you may have. And I don't think you would have a lack of effort if Jeffrey was out there, because I do believe that Jeffrey will push you, and that's what he's supposed to do as a veteran guy and a leader. I just haven't seen, and again, it could be because of the injury. He hadn't played. He's just getting back, but he's just not the same T'Vondre Sweat that I saw last year. He's not there yet. I'm hoping he gets there, but if this continues, that's not a good sign for the Tennessee Titans.
Willie, I don't love the idea that, let's assume that T'Vondre Sweat does get a change of scenery. I don't love the idea that two players drafted by the Titans last year needed changes of scenery already because Jarvis Brownlee, a 5th-round pick in 2024, has already been traded. And a lot of it was about the culture fit, I guess. But to have 2 players drafted last year, one already gone, one who could be gone for a change of scenery purposes, considering the Titans draft record recently, not a good look.
I really hope it doesn't get to that. But, I was concerned because I think Tehran has put this theme out there. And Tehran is not one that is a conspiracy theory guy. No offense, Derek. I know you love a good conspiracy
none
theory.
taken, none taken.
Tehran is not wired like you. He doesn't look for stuff like that, right? He usually is giving the players, particularly the players and the coaches, the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that stuff. But he has said more than once, I don't know if he said specifically, but you could sense a concern when asked about T'Vondre Sweat and the direction it's going. And there seems to be something beneath the surface besides what is a legitimate 1-2 punch that has set him back. The tonsillitis that had him out for a long time, had him losing weight, etc. And then the abdominal issue. So it's really a 3. It's a 1-2-3 punch because then he had the ankle sprain, which for a big guy is not easy to recover from. So he's dealing with a lot of stuff. So it may well be that he is just flat out not in good game shape right now. And we were worried that was going to be the case when he missed that much time. It is not easy to overcome that for anybody. But if there is something in addition, that would be the what you would be concerned about.
And that's what when I presented that question, that's why I said I'm just a tad bit concerned that it could potentially lead to something like that, because I want it to be that because he hasn't played and he had to deal with the tonsillitis and the abdominal strain and the ankle, so he's just now working his way back into it. And I knew one of the concerns was a big fella like that, he's sitting around, he's working out, but it's not the things that you need to be doing during the season that is going to cause you to maintain your weight. You're not doing it at a strenuous level that you would be had you not been injured. So that was my concern. Like, he may pick up a few pounds. I know he lost some because of the tonsillitis, but he may pick up some because he's just not in that regiment that he was in prior to all of that. So that plus what you said, the injuries and all this other stuff, I'm just hoping it's more that than, man, this guy, he may not be one of those guys that are self-motivators. Like, some guys just motivate themselves. You ain't got to worry about them. They're going to show up. They're going to do what they do. Some guys need a little pushing. Some guys need a lot of pushing. I don't want T'Vondre to be a guy that needs a lot of pushing to get going.
One texter says
there seems to be some direction, some implying that he's in that category, because you're right, especially with an injury, right? There are certain guys that you tell them, okay, D-Mace, you're going to be out for 4 weeks, and you'll be like, okay, good. You tell me 4 weeks, I'll be back in 3 weeks, and they'll bust it to do every possible thing known to humankind to get better quicker, right? Because they're gonna work hard. That makes a difference in how quick you can recover from an injury. Then there are other guys that are like, he's not ready yet. What's going on? Because day in and day out, they're not putting in the same motivation and work into the physical therapy and all those things. So I don't know. This is what we're watching with Sweat. And this is, again, he's surrounded by a really tough environment right now. They're a gasoline fire. So it's not easy to flourish no matter what you're doing right now. But if you're out of shape and you're getting keyed on, you're getting doubled because there's no Jeffrey Simmons, you can look bad. And I think that's what happened on Sunday. He got dominated.
One texter says the Titans don't have a true veteran to toe the line and show these young guys how the line is supposed to be towed. Kevin Byard was the last one.
I mean, I'm not going to dismiss, Jeffrey Simmons, and neither should the texter. because he's been on some good teams, and right now, currently, he's on a bad team. So he's seen both sides of the ledger. And I believe he's done a lot of self-reflecting after what has happened in the past. And, it just seems like he's a different individual in how he approaches, not just the game, but I think leadership on his team. Is he perfect? No, but I think he approaches it now in a more serious tone. So I'm not going to dismiss that and say, well, they don't have enough. Listen, eventually guys come and go. You can't keep a guy 30 years just because he was a great guy in the locker room. You can't keep him in the locker room and on the team and on your roster for 20 years just because of that. Eventually, you have to find new faces, new voices, new leaders. The Titans just don't have enough right now. And the guys that they thought were going to be a part of that new leadership ring, they're gone. A lot of these guys are gone, or they haven't developed enough where they even got a voice because they hadn't shown enough on the field. So, but again, I'm not dismissing, don't dismiss Jeffrey Simmons and what he's capable and able to do from a leadership standpoint. I understand the things he did do in the past, meaning the run-ins with Buck and some other stuff in practice. But I think now it's a different guy, and they just need him back on the playing field. I think that will help T'Vondre Sweat once he gets back on the playing field.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the Titans, who host the Chargers on Sunday in their final game before the bye week. 615-737-1025. Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow will join us coming up next. We'll talk Titans and college football with Hutton. 615-737-1025. A reminder also that Silly Underdog Picks is coming up at 5:20. You can represent the people when given the cue to call. And just so you know what you're playing for, if you represent the people and win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Bryan Adams and Pat Benatar at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, November 7th. So be listening for that coming up at 5:20. Willie Donnie, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. We are presented by Bax Homeworks, remodeling done right. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, David Janes, joined, as we are every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, by Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on Outkick. Hello, Hutton. How are you?
I am wonderful, guys. Adam, good to be with you guys.
Always a pleasure to have you, Hutton. And here is the lead of a story that I think this paragraph encapsulates the world of college football from ESPN. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry told reporters Wednesday that LSU athletic director Scott Woodward won't be involved in selecting the Tigers' new football coach, saying he'd let President Donald Trump do it before Woodward. That's just the world we live in when it comes to college football. Let's talk about the coaching carousel in college football. We talked about it earlier in the program. Specifically in the SEC, you have 3 openings right now.
Yep.
Arkansas, LSU, and Florida. I think you could have at least a couple of more, maybe Auburn, maybe Kentucky, maybe even South Carolina. So if you're playing matchmaker with some of these openings, where are you putting the coaches? And are we all waiting for Lane Kiffin? Is that the first domino that has to fall before we can really talk about any of this?
Well, I mean, look, where am I putting these coaches? First, I want to know the answer to how many programs were considering a coaching change that are now in a boat where they don't want to join this open cycle because they're going to be outbid. That's important too. How large the pool will be. Now, ultimately, it comes down to you're going to pay the buyouts or not. But LSU is at the top of the pecking order here, and there will be, the waterfall effect after that, and teams will be open because their coach is going to leave. Kiffin is in a great position because he's getting paid either way. He can say that money's never driven him to take a job. He can say that right now because he's going to get paid regardless of where he goes. Last week, Ole Miss was thinking they have to pay the type money like Cignetti type money. Now they got to pay LSU money, and there's a huge difference there in terms of the mentality of where Ole Miss feels like the program will be, and where LSU feels like the program will be. And that then sets the pecking order. Florida's going to be there. They're going to pay top dollar to get their type of guy. I think Florida fits Kiffin more just based on I think they want more of a Spurrier type dude. And Kiffin can certainly come in and he'll run an offense. Quarterback's going to play well. He's a good play caller, good to stack, all that. Then you have LSU that, just simply doesn't put up with not winning the conference or national championship within 4 years like the previous 3 coaches did. So with all that said, I think LSU would be smart to go after a coach that would fit their program. That was not the case with Brian Kelly. Look, Joe Brady makes a ton of sense for me, but it sounds like he's going to stay in the NFL. And if I'm LSU and I'm where that program is, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling literally everybody above Kiffin. I'm calling Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning doesn't want to be mentioned for Penn State or Florida, but LSU is a different world. I'm seeing what it would take to get him back to the Southeast. And that's what they're thinking. Ole Miss, I'm curious about what they do. If they want to keep their coach, now's the time to go ahead and do it because they're going to be in the middle of a college football playoff run. And you've already given Kiffin two other big-time extensions due to all of this. He's in the catbird seat. And beyond that, guys, it's just a matter of which coach is going to jump and which program wants James Franklin. And I think he fits certain programs more than others. And I just don't see Franklin at Florida with that style of offense, for instance. I could see him at, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, something like that, or out west. But again, I think these programs are not going to go after Franklin as much as they'll go after a guy like Lanning and then Kiffin for whatever reason.
Last week, Vanderbilt defeats Missouri in what felt like a college football playoff contention elimination game, right? And
hey, real quick, Adam, and
yes.
Also Eli Drinkwitz elimination game. Like he's probably not going to make the playoff now, so he's going to be open to jump on a new squad if he wants to.
That's true. This weekend also feels like a college football playoff contention elimination game between Vanderbilt and
Yes.
Texas, especially since Texas had that gigantic comeback last week. Arch Manning practiced today, still in concussion protocol, but it appears he will be playing on Saturday against the Commodores. If Vanderbilt is able to go on the road and defeat Texas, I want you to fill in the blank. If Vanderbilt goes on the road and defeats Texas, the percentage chance that Vanderbilt makes the college football playoff is what?
Well, I think ultimately it's going to come down to a game at Neyland Stadium for the playoff. Vanderbilt against Tennessee. I just to me that's how the stars are going to align here. Going into this game right now, Adam, we could say this about Vanderbilt every single week. They're already proven to me that they are the team we think they are. Texas is not, but Texas is certainly capable of winning this game. Vanderbilt losing this game probably takes them out of consideration in the committee's mind, because when Notre Dame was 0-2, they were already making nationally the topics where they're 0-2. They're still a top 25 team. How do they make the college football playoff? Perception is reality here, and there's no way that doesn't trickle down to the committee. I don't want it to here, but Vanderbilt, look, they in conference games, they have been vulnerable. They rank 15th overall in number of plays per game. Their opponent this week has run the ball fewer times in SEC matchups than any other team. Texas only averages like 75 yards on the ground per game. So Vandy's got to stop them on 3rd and 4th down. They've allowed nearly 7 of 11 4th down attempts in the SEC matchups have been converted against Vanderbilt's defense. That's why Alabama won the game. It's a huge component in the Missouri game. So they've got to get some stops here, and then they need more from wide receiver. They've got their leading receiver, wide receivers, Sherrill with 312 yards. So if they can get some production there, and then they don't have Wingo change the momentum of a game late here, I think Vanderbilt's got a great shot at going down and winning. I don't know how I do know how they're the underdog here. I don't view them as the underdog. Nationally, that's the perception. Internally, I've jumped on board with this. I feel the way they do. They're not the underdog in this game. They've played way better than Texas this year.
No, they have. And listen, Arch is still in concussion protocol, so you don't know how that's going to end up. Will he play? Will he not? So I think that all of that affects this game. Looking at this conference as a whole, in particular UT, because I think because you mentioned perception and reality when it comes to Vanderbilt.
Not by us.
Not by us locally, but you're talking
right.
I know you meant like nationally.
Yeah.
But UT, what is the perception of UT, and what is the reality of UT? Because it seemed like after the Georgia loss and then the Alabama loss, some of the luster some of the shine came off of UT, but they're still a top 15 team. They're still in contention to make the college football playoffs. But what is the reality based on, what is the reality, or what is the perception of UT, you believe?
That they're good, not great. Tennessee's offense has traditionally been built on that strong rushing attack, and this season there's a shift toward the explosive plays. There's 20% of their pass completions have covered 25 or more yards. The downfield success is the formula for overcoming a run game that just hasn't been there. They've recorded the 2 fewest rushing yards in a victory during Heupel's tenure, and their back-to-back wins over Mississippi State and Kentucky. So they've got to now do that against Oklahoma. It's not the big plays that we didn't see last year, now seeing this year. It's not just a bonus; it's a necessity. So that the run game, if they get the run game going, that can make them a true team that people are going to buy into. And I'm saying perception versus reality. OU's defense, like statistically, they've been one of the best defenses in the SEC. They allow the fewest yards, or allowing the fewest yards per play in the conference when they match up against SEC teams. They allow under 100 rushing yards per game in SEC matchups, but they've played bad passing offenses. And we saw what Ole Miss did whenever they faced a good one. Tennessee is better than Ole Miss at this. So I expect them to play their game, and I think the home field and home crowd makes a difference here. Guys, I think Tennessee's right there on the line. And now we get to see whether or not they step up and do it with Aguilar, who has done it before. I love the storyline there. He has impressed me with the way he's handled things. Same thing with Heupel with him. And we get to see if he steps up to that next level and he can carry this offense again.
Now, I'm sure you heard Sark in the story that came out about
Yeah.
Sarkisian. He's denied it, and I don't
Right.
blame him for denying it, especially where they are in the season. And they're still teetering on they lose another game, they're not getting in the playoffs. So I understand him being upset. But do you think ultimately there may be some truth to him wanting or potentially leaving Texas?
Sure. I mean, if you're Sark or you're the agency, you want to this is raise season for college football coaches. They're about to enter the raise season. Everybody's going to get a bump in pay even if you stay. How do you create the appearance that you're going to leave Texas? Like, you go ahead and put your name in the hat. I thought it was interesting that he blamed the media for reporting as if everything was truth. When the report is about the report from Diana Russini at The Athletic, who's pretty dialed in with the NFL. Let's say that. And as far as Sarkisian's concerned, hey, I mean, I think now more than what we've seen in the past, NFL teams should actually consider and look hard at college head coaches, because what I think has held back some of them in the past from making the transition from college to pro is the pro aspect of salary cap, money. Guys are pros. They're all about the cash, or they're not as invested. That's college football now. I mean, they have general managers within an athletic program working with them and for them. I think that's a situation that they come in and they're used to managing now. Maybe I'm way off base, but I look around and not everybody's going to be Jim Harbaugh, but they could be Mike McDonald, who worked for Jim Harbaugh, who's now the head coach for Seattle. I mean, there are options there. Sarkisian could be one of them. And the way he shot it down was, he clearly didn't want the information out there. I don't think there's any. Why wouldn't Sarkisian's name be mentioned? And how do you create buzz in the middle of the season without really being a distraction? You mentioned Sark for an NFL team, not a college team or one of your rivals, or Louisiana or wherever. That's what I thought when I saw it. But he did a nice job of tamping down all of that.
Jonathan Hutton is with us, and Hutton, you got me thinking, and I think I think we're paying probably too much attention to who is ranked in the top 25. And there's a lot of articles written. There was one that Adam brought up yesterday, and it got me a little emotional. Not emotional is the wrong word. I got a little fired up because I think, and I got into the same thing on a text chain with a bunch of high school friends of mine who are just like everybody else outside of Nashville. And even in Nashville, going, how is Vanderbilt 7-1? How are they doing this? All of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take Vanderbilt's win over South Carolina. Yep. I think in this season's SEC, South Carolina, especially what we just saw them do at home against Alabama, they took them right to the wire. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good win. But outside of here, it's easy to say, well, South Carolina's 3-5. 1-5 in the SEC, and say that's not a good win.
And Sellers got hurt during the game. Will also be mentioned.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think you could probably pick holes in a lot of wins that teams had where from the outside, you look at a team's record and say, that's not a great win. But in this league this year, I think you have to look beyond the record to determine. And I'm really curious how the committee sees that, right? I think that's going to come down to a lot of things when you try to weigh probably a lot of 10-2 teams, maybe a 9-3 team or two that has a really tough schedule, and say, let's really determine who deserves these last couple spots.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. They'll, like I said, they'll add in the Sellers argument that South Carolina lost Sellers and that they weren't the same team. I still think Vanderbilt wins that game with the way they've been playing. Look, the perception of Oklahoma. Let's say Oklahoma beats Tennessee. Well, the SEC admitted that Auburn got screwed against Oklahoma in that matchup. Auburn against Georgia could have gone up 17-0 based on officiating. I'm mentioning all that because those are losses that can impact the team in a negative way or impact a coach. They're never brought up either. I'm not trying to argue on behalf of Hugh Freeze. I'm just mentioning that it can go both ways here, and a good team, the perception of a team, can be on a one-score game or a call. For Vandy, part of it is I think they're in a great spot because of the national spotlight that they've been under. They've been on ABC 2 or 3 times, and they've been on ESPN at 3:30 or something, like at least once or twice. They've been right there where I don't think a lot of the voters, in fact, we know this, they don't watch these games. They watch what's on TV when they're in the press box covering the team that they
Right.
cover.
And that's different than being on a selection committee, right?
Yes, I think so. When it comes to the voters for that AP top 25, I think that matters for Vandy, which has benefited them. But we had a guy on the show today who said Vanderbilt's not really the 9th best team in the country, and I'm thinking, but how
based on what? Like
exactly?
It's a different world, right? You have to kind of shift.
Yeah.
You have to take your perception from the past away. I'll give you another.
No doubt, but I wish we could get there. I really wish we could get there.
They can't. Yeah, they can't take it away, especially outside of here. Here's another one that I think will be interesting. Tell me if you're a Tennessee fan, you're not a little bit concerned about Florida. If Florida's at their best, in the swamp, that's if Tennessee goes to Florida and wins, that's a good win. That's a quality win. And you might sit there and say Tennessee should win there. But it's not going to be easy.
They haven't won
Florida's
in years.
record could be Florida's record could be something like 4-5. If they don't beat Georgia this week, they'll have 3 conference losses. They'll have at least 5 losses.
Right.
From the outside, you're like, well, of course they should beat Florida if they're a playoff. That's a tough game in this league this year. So I hope the committee can see that.
I totally agree too. But they'll view it through the lens of how we view Florida coming into the season versus reality of their record. But what they won't see, I mean, Tennessee, I know Tennessee fans, Chad is like adamant, like that's the game they're going to lose again because they haven't won in Florida in however many years it's been. I mean, it's been a while. So with that in mind too, like that's another thing that Tennessee and Heupel's got to get over. I would circle that game, but again, I tend to think that Tennessee is making like we saw at Mississippi State, that kind of feel they're going to be in these types of games. And the way they took over the Kentucky matchup, even though their defense is allowing a ton of points, I feel like their offense is enough. And then we get to the final week, Willie, which I don't know. I can't think of what the buzz would be like and what it will be like for you guys if, in fact, we get that matchup where it's a de facto college football playoff game at Neyland. That's crazy. You know?
Yep.
The atmosphere will be good at Florida. Florida's going to get up for that game. I think it'll be very telling how they get up for Georgia with interim.
Yes.
Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Always a pleasure, Hutton. We'll chat next week.
Underdog pick straight ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about a tease.
He knows about it.
615-737-1025. It is indeed time for silly underdog picks, and we will give you the cue to call soon, not yet, to represent the people. And if you represent the people and win, you will win a pair of tickets to see Bryan Adams and Pat Benatar at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, November 7th. Silly underdog picks straight ahead. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D Mays, Finnegan, and Donick 1025. The game? We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It is time for Silly Underdog Picks, presented by our friends at Volunteer Hose and Gasket. I now turn it over to the commissioner, Willie Donick.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another week of Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, a competition that goes back 31 years in this fine city. And I'm coming at you today from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to bring you all the festivities today. And we've got our insiders in the house ready to make the picks. The competition is 9 weeks old. Derek Mason in the lead right now with 32 points, or going into last week had the lead. Hal Gill, Adam Vingan, and Chris Sanders all trying to chase D Mace. And so let's give you the results from week 9 before we introduce our competition in the interest of time. And then we'll check in on Hal Gill and see where he is. I know he's in the city of Philadelphia as well. Let's see if he's got dinner reservations that he's about to walk into. He did not make the pick last week. But here's how it went down. In week 9, Derek Mason selected his fine alma mater, the Michigan State Spartans, a 14.5-point home dog against the hated rival, the Michigan Wolverines. It was a tight game at halftime, but unfortunately for D Mace, the Wolverines pulled away in the second half. 31-20 the final, so D Mace fails to pick up any extra points. D Mace, what happened?
Man, listen, they need to fire that coach. He needs
Wait.
Seriously. That coach, the more I look, he said something, and he said this last year, and it was just brought to my attention again. He said he didn't understand how deep the Michigan State rival was when he got here his first year.
That's blasphemous.
His ass needs to be gone right now, and he will be gone this year. I am damn near almost 100%. He will be gone. He's not Michigan State whatsoever.
Add another coach opening, I guess, Willie Donick. Add Michigan State to the list.
The coaching carousel just got bigger. Hal Gill, he made the pick last week. He was trying to go back to the well for a team that worked so good for him the week before, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who had gotten him 7.5 points with their win against Nebraska. So he said, what the heck? Let's go with the Gophers again. Last week, they traveled to Iowa to take on the Hawkeyes. Minnesota was an 8.5-point dog. Unfortunately, the Gophers did not bring their A game from Minneapolis. Hal, the final score of 41-3 in favor of the Hawkeyes. I can't remember the last time Iowa scored 41. It usually takes them about 6 weeks to get to 41. What happened?
I don't know. You know, you're only as good as your last game, and I should have known that. I should have pivoted, but down 35-0 at the half. I didn't check back in. Let's put it that way. I said if I could have gotten a buyout halfway through that game, I would have taken it.
Buyouts are pretty lucrative these days, as we know. So that might have been the play. So Hal threw in the towel early on Minnesota. Adam Vingan had the next pick. Now, this one was interesting. He went with Appalachian State, a 14.5-point dog at Old Dominion in a key game in the Sun Belt. So here's the stage. Old Dominion gets way ahead, and Appalachian State puts in their backup quarterback, who happens to be a name that you will recognize if you're a Vanderbilt fan, a kid named A.J. Swan. Remember him? He was the guy that was on the last Clark Lee team that did not look very good. He was the quarterback the year before they got Diego Pavia, the team that went 2-10. And A.J. Swan transferred to LSU to back up Garrett Nussmeier. Then he left there to go to Appalachian State when Joey Aguilar left. And now he's the backup at Appalachian State. He comes off the bench. He throws a couple of touchdown passes and gets them back in the game. They kick the onside kick with 1.5 minutes to go, but they didn't get it. So, Adam, all that to say, sorry, no points for a cover.
I'm a little dizzy after you explained A.J. Swan's path from Vanderbilt to App State, but this is what I get for doubting my Monarchs. So, lesson learned.
24-21 the final. Adam stays in last place. Sorry, Adam, I got to throw that out there. And
Way
then
to go, buddy.
finally, Chris Sanders, who sounds like he's on the
Hey!
line. He had a big time pick last
I
week.
have
He
I have a
had-
new nickname for Chris Sanders.
What
Chris,
is it?
too big for his britches Sanders after this selection that Willie's about to
Well,
share.
Oh my God.
Let's set the stage. Chris had a huge win the week before, a brilliant
Yes, I
pick to
did.
get back in the race. 21.5 points for UAB, upsetting Memphis, 31-24. Chris vaulted back into contention.
Wow.
He's within sight
Yeah.
of a back-to-back title now. He can see D Mace in the
Yeah,
distance.
I'm getting him.
So he
Hey,
comes
Adam,
back last
Adam, what
week.
place are you
Nah,
in?
Chris,
Chris,
if I don't win this competition, that's okay, as long as I
You're
finish
not gonna
ahead of
win.
you.
You're in last.
As long as I finish ahead of you, that's all I need. That's all I
D-Mace,
need.
I'm gonna win. D-Mace already know I'm gonna win, man. He already know it.
probably not.
So here's who Chris came back
Oh.
with after the big
Oh, my
UAB win.
gosh.
He goes with UCLA. Now UCLA's got the spotlight.
Oh my
The
God.
big noon kickoff. Gus Johnson on the call.
There you go.
They're starting to play better.
There you
One
go.
of Derek's favorite coaches, Rick Neuheisel, his son, taking over the offense, showing life for the Bruins. They're taking on Indiana as a 25.5 point dog.
Oh gosh.
Pick six on the first drive, 28-0 right out of the chute.
Oh my God.
Final score 56-6. Oh
Man.
boy.
I just turned it off like the first 30 seconds of the game. I knew it was over. I mean, it was done. I mean, he threw a pick six, and I just went to go to sleep and watch Judge Judy, so I was good.
That seems to be your fallback, right, Chris?
Hold
When
on,
things
you
go
went,
wrong.
you went to sleep to watch Judge Judy?
Yeah, I was dreaming about Judge Judy.
You watched
Wait,
that
you were
damn-
watching Judge Judy or were you dreaming about Judge Judy?
No, both,
said he
'cause
went
I was
to
looking
sleep
at it,
to
but you know
watch
when you fall
Judge
asleep
Judy.
and you think you're in a dream. You know what I'm saying? It's like that because you're like, hey, and then all of a sudden you see me, you think you're on trial, man. It was like that. It was weird. It was weird.
Man, you watch
Okay,
you
so-
watch too much Judge Judy, man. You need to stop.
Oh, she's cute too.
Yeah, Chris, he's got
I'm
an
gonna-
interesting relationship with Judge Judy.
Yeah,
We'll have to get into that another day.
dates back.
Okay, thanks.
This will bring us to week 10.
Let's
The
go.
order right now. So nobody got points last week.
Good.
D Mace has 32. He's in the lead.
Oh man.
Hal with 25 is in second. Third place is Chris with 21.5. Adam in fourth place in a field of 4 with 18. It's a nice way of saying you're in last place,
The
Adam.
only way you can go is up, Adam.
I'm in the final four as far as I'm concerned. And that's
Yes,
usually
yeah,
good.
final
That's a way. That's a
That
nice way
is
to look at
usually
it.
good.
That's a nice way to look at it, Adam.
D-Max, what was Adam's nickname from last week? Remember?
What?
Was it Jake?
Oh no! What did Willie call you?
Alex.
Alex? Come on, Alex.
Alex.
He called you
Alex
Alex.
is
Okay.
in fourth place.
Ever since he's called you Alex, you've lost. I think.
That's true.
I only
Yeah.
call you Alex,
Yes.
Adam, when I'm in Montreal. This week I'm in Philadelphia, so there could be another
Oh.
name that pops up there. We'll see. So the order of picking, week 10, Hal Gill will pick first, the rookie, then Adam, then the Forever Titan Chris Sanders, and then D Mace. So let's start the competition with Hal Gill from here in Philadelphia, one of his many cities that he was able to play for in the NHL. He was a Flyer at one time. So he's probably getting greeted by lots of Flyer fans as we speak. Let's see if he can concentrate and make a pick.
All right. You know what? I have an internal struggle right now because I am standing outside of McGillen's old ale house, established 1860, supposed to be the oldest bar in America, but being from Boston, I there's about 5 bars in Boston that are the oldest bars in America. So I'm not sure which one is the legit one, but I will tell you, I'm excited about my pick, and I think I everything in me wants to take Vandy, but it's only a 2.5 dog, right? You know, like
Yes.
everyone wants to ride the wave. Willie, I'm with you. I want to ride the wave, and I just can't do it. I think I have to go to the nasty natty. I have to go with Cincinnati over Utah because I want the points. I'm getting greedy. I want the points. Give me the points.
Cincinnati,
And so
this is a grand tradition in the Big 12. Cincinnati against Utah. But Cincinnati at 7-1, ranked 17th, is a 10-point dog at Utah. And that game will be taking place in Salt Lake at 10:15 or 9:15 Central Time on ESPN. So we'll have a prime view of that game.
Yeah.
The Predators play Saturday afternoon. So how you can get a front seat for that one. So Cincy is the
I'm
pick.
excited about that. I'm excited about it. And you know what I'm going to tell you also is that, you know, with the Preds, they treat their people right. And there's a Lexus Lounge trip. And so I have to go entertain. I think, Willie, you're probably
Yes.
going to meet us there soon. As soon as you
I
wrap
will
up
be.
the show. We're
Yes.
going to go entertain some people, have a couple cocktails, and tell some jokes, have a couple laughs. And so I'll see you there, and I'm going to hang up and let you guys pick a bunch of losers because I'm going to win this week.
So
I
Hal is hoping
jumped
next
the
time we
gun
talk to
on
him on
you.
the air, he will be in the lead.
Hal, I love you, but I hope you lose.
Cheers, guys.
All right, that's
Oh,
Hal
man.
Gill. So he's selected Cincinnati in a matchup of top 25 teams. Now we move on to Adam Vingan. Determined. He has been
Alex.
He's been picked on. He's been ridiculed. He's been in a slump. And so he's determined to make this pick in week 10 to come out of it.
All right. Last week, I took a little detour to the Sun Belt Conference, but I'm going to go back to where I feel most comfortable, the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC, although it includes teams in California and Texas now. But I am going to go with a somewhat traditional ACC matchup here. I will be taking the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, a 10-point underdog on the road at Florida State.
Oh, no.
So a couple of 10-pointers here. Wake Forest is 5-2, and they are on the road at 3-4 Florida State. And I did see among the dozens and dozens of signs at College Game Day last week, a big, loud Fire Mike Norville sign on the Vanderbilt campus, which had nothing to do with the game that was being played in Nashville. But you can see people want to get their message out. They're not happy with Norville down there in Tallahassee. So that is a pressure game for Florida State for sure. So let's see if the Deeks can pull the upset here. Was that your thinking, Adam?
Yes, if I am not mistaken, Florida State is winless in the ACC. So Wake Forest they've had some success as the underdog on the road this season a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. So although I have no love lost for Wake Forest, I will ride with the Demon Deacons this weekend.
FSU is 0-4 in the ACC. And remember, Wake Forest did have the game against Georgia Tech where they missed the 2-point conversion that would have won the game on the last play of the game, right? They didn't kick for overtime. They went for it against Georgia Tech, a game that they led for most of the day. Georgia Tech undefeated right now. So Wake Forest is bringing something to the table. All right, so let's go now to Chris Sanders,
Yes,
who
sir.
has pick number 3.
Oh, my gosh. What in the world? What in the world?
This is brought to you by Teron Davenport.
That's cold,
You
man.
said you look like the dude that sing this song.
I love Seal.
Wow. That is cold, man. I don't even want to make my pick
I wasn't
now,
gonna mention
man.
his name. I just said you
Oh
look like the
my
dude that sing this
God.
song.
To be fair to Chris Sanders and Seal was married to Heidi Klum
Yeah,
for a
so
long
there
time.
you go.
So
So you have
Oh,
there you go, Chris.
I know that you have. I
Money
know,
talks,
that,
baby.
gosh.
I know, Chris, that you have eyes on Judge Judy, but Judge Judy, Heidi Klum, not
Same
in the
thing.
same stratosphere.
Unbelievable. I love Faith. Faith, I love you if you listen. But I'm gonna pick. This is where I take the lead. D makes you take this, Mister. I'm going with Stanford over pick.
Oh
14.
hell!
Let's go.
Are you
I
doing
know-
this again?
He loves Stanford.
Just
He loves
because
to go to
CJ
Stanford.
went
He
to
loves
Stanford.
Stanford.
Just because CJ went to Stanford, you ain't got to keep picking him, okay?
Yeah.
Stop it, man.
No.
Goodness.
Stanford. Is it Cardinals or Cardinals?
One.
Cardinals
It's
or
singular. Cardinal.
One
single.
Cardinal.
Single.
Okay.
It's the tree.
Cardinal.
You should know that since you pick them almost every week.
It's a tree. It ain't a bird. I thought it was a bird this whole time.
No, that's Louisville. And Ball
Oh,
State,
okay.
I think, are the Cardinals as well.
There's a big tree. There's a big tree on
The
the
mascot
logo. ain't
is
it?
literally a tree.
It is a tree.
I'm joking.
Shut your mouth, Chris.
Sure you
I'm
are.
gonna be quiet. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna just sit in the corner and just. Oh,
Yeah,
What's
little
up?
Bill. Sit down.
Little
wow.
Bill on a hill.
Why can't I find this game on the grid? Why can't I find?
Because nobody
Stanford
wants
King.
to watch it. That's why.
Okay, all right.
What's the
Okay.
line, Chris?
It's
What's
14.
the- oh,
It's
14.
minus 14. And I'll take the lead.
Let
I
me
have
see.
35 to 32.
Minus 14. You can't find it, Willie?
Stanford
Yeah,
on
let's go.
CBS Sports is a
Yes,
14.5 point underdog
Let's
at
Yeah.
home
go.
against
Taking the
Pittsburgh.
lead right there.
Well, the only thing you got
Indeed,
going
okay.
for them
14 and a half, yes, at
they're
home.
playing in Cali.
Stanford Stadium, ACC
Yes.
Network
Let's
at
go.
2:30.
Gotta
Good
love,
game.
gotta
Again,
love that traditional ACC matchup between one team in Northern California and the other in Western Pennsylvania.
Yes, nowhere close to the Atlantic Coast for either team. But let's move on to D Mace for the last pick
Boo.
of Week 10.
It's my theme song right there. Let's go. Play my theme music. That's right. Okay. I made a change, a very quick one. I was going to go with Navy over who do they play? I may still go with it. Oh yeah,
You must not have
Navy.
had much
No,
conviction.
North Texas. I was gonna go with that, but as I was looking, I'm like, wow, I didn't know nobody picked Cincinnati and Utah, right?
Hal did.
Yes, they did.
I
How
knew
did?
it. I knew it was too good to be true. I wasn't listening.
I got
to
a
Hal.
question, D Mace. Your focus.
Yes.
You weren't listening when Hal picked, and then you weren't even sure who Navy was playing a second.
No,
ago.
no,
What's going on? Are you,
I had
are
it.
you
and
locked
then
in?
I had
Are
it.
you
and then I
locked in, or are you
yes,
still
I'm-
rattled from Michigan State? You want Michigan State's coach
Oh,
to get
yeah.
fired. That's what it is. You're distracted.
Hey Willie, I started to pick Michigan State to win this week,
Oh,
but I
my
want the
God.
coach to win because I want
Oh,
him
my
fired.
goodness.
Derek is dreaming about
Oh, my
Judge
God.
Judy.
All right,
See,
so
if
who
you
you
know-
going with?
See, if you know me, I'll talk about that
Oh.
later. But I'm gonna go with Navy over Texas, North Texas. It's a 6.5 point spread.
Okay. Navy is on the road down in Denton,
Boo.
Texas, where I have done a broadcast, a huge matchup between Vanderbilt and North Texas back in the mid-90s on the worst AstroTurf that I've ever seen. I think it's better now.
Mm.
North Texas has been a pretty good program, and they're very good this year, actually. It's
The
7-1.
Mean Green.
The Mean Green,
Yeah.
indeed. Navy is 7-0 as they go down there. So it's a key game for sure. And Navy, indeed, is a 6.5 point dog.
See,
Okay.
If you knew me, you would know that Sandra Bullock is the person.
Ah.
That's like my crush. Yeah, Sandra Bullock. And Halle
What's the
Berry.
best Sandra
You're
Bullock
going
movie?
with-
Best Sandra Bullock movie.
Oh man, what's the best one? The one she did with what's his name, the comedian, where he had to pretend he was her date or her fiance.
Proposal.
The
Yeah,
proposal with
yes.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Ryan
Are
Reynolds.
y'all
That was
watching?
so funny. Oh, I love that movie.
What are y'all watching?
Derek's gonna go home and watch Miss Congeniality.
People-
I like that too
people-
now.
People
Golly.
watch things other than Judge Judy.
Yes.
Okay, you got to
Birds was
expand your
good when
horizons.
she was
Start
blind,
watching
when
it.
she had to cover her eyes. The Netflix movie. That was good.
Tonight is the Love is Blind reunion on Netflix.
I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh, yes. Yes, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait.
All right. So before we get into our TV watching tonight, let's review the picks for Week 10. Silly underdog picks brought to you by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Hal Gill, now schmoozing with a lot of Predator fans here in Philadelphia. The pick is in. Cincinnati, a 10-point dog, ranked 17th as they head out to take on the Utah Utes in Salt Lake. And yes, Cincinnati and Utah are in the same conference, the Big 12. Adam Vingan selects Wake Forest out of the ACC, a 10-point dog on the road at Florida State. 3-4, 0-4 is their record. Wake Forest trying to pull off a win down in Tallahassee. Then Chris Sanders, right now in third place, selects one of his go-to teams that has gotten him big points over the years, the Stanford Cardinal, a 14.5-point home dog as they take on Pitt. And yes, Stanford and Pitt are in the same conference, which is called the Atlantic Coast Conference. Figure
Yuck.
that out.
Yuck.
And Derek Mason, with the final pick, currently the leader, trying to add to it, goes with the midshipman of Navy, a 6.5-point dog on the road in Denton, Texas, near Dallas, as they take on the Mean Green, the North Texas Eagles. Those are the picks for week number 10. Gentlemen, good luck.
I ain't got nothing to say. Y'all can go. Psych, psych, psych. Y'all thought y'all was gonna get
You
away
thought.
with it? Absolutely. You know I love y'all. Y'all know I love y'all. But I hope that y'all lose every game from here on out. I do. And I hope y'all get blown out too. I hope y'all never win a game. Hope y'all teams get blown out.
Chris, I hope you have to end up watching People's Court tonight instead of Judge Judy.
Whoa. Don't put that on him. Come on.
He said People's Court.
What about Judge Joe Brown? Is Judge Joe Brown
He's
still
not
on the air?
on yet. I don't even think they're not in syndication. So well, he may
Oh
be.
my God.
Judge
You
Judy,
guys
by
are
the
awful.
way, a spry 83 years old.
Hey, Judge, she takes care of herself, man.
Yeah.
she
nice-
could
nice
be
looking
your
lady.
grandmother, Chris.
I'll still hold her hand.
Oh God. There's a lot to unpack there.
Exactly.
We don't have time for this. It is time for you, the listener, to make the people's pick. First caller, 615-737-1025. If you represent the people and pick correctly, you will win a pair of tickets to see Bryan Adams and Pat Benatar at Bridgestone Arena on Friday, November 7th. Be the first caller right now at 615-737-1025. We'll get the people's pick and wrap up the show. Coming up next, Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Preds Insiders coming up next. Chase McCabe joined me this week for Preds Insiders, filling in for Willie Donick. Always good to talk some hockey with Chase. So that will be coming up next. The Predators are back in action tomorrow against the Flyers. A 6 o'clock Central puck drop. So we will be with you from 3 to 5 tomorrow. But let's get our people's pick. Wallace is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Wallace, thank you for participating. Your selection, please.
All right, I'm ready. I'm going to go with Oklahoma.
Oklahoma against Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
All right. Good luck, Wallace.
All right.
But that is a
much. We need to
3-point
get those
underdog.
tickets.
So that is a huge, huge game.
What's the line on that game, Willie?
3.5, he said.
Last I checked, it was 3. I will double check because I've been looking at it today, talking to Hutton about it. I mean, that's a pair of ranked teams. You've been calling these games elimination games, and I think that's probably apropos here. Oklahoma's a 3-point dog in Knoxville.
Okay.
Number 18 versus number 14.
So we'll see if the Sooners can get it done for Wallace. If Wallace wins, he'll get a pair of tickets to see Bryan Adams and Pat Benatar next month at Bridgestone Arena. Derek, there are a couple of people on our text line upset with your selections about favorite Sandra Bullock movies. Joey from Bellevue says, D-Mace, how could you not mention Demolition Man or Speed?
I'm not a big Demolition Man. I didn't really like it. Now, Speed, I did like, but that was a younger, Sandra Bullock. She was just coming up in the game. I get it. It was a good movie.
Willie, any
For
favorite
Propulsion
Sandra
was
Bullock
good.
movies?
I'm gonna nominate The Heat with
you're
Melissa
right.
McCarthy. That one is really funny. There's a lot of comedies out there. Sandra Bullock's been in a million movies. That's not the most famous one. Like The Blind Side
The
was
Blind Side was
the big
great.
one, right?
Yes, it was good. Yeah.
But I'm going to go
Ocean's
with The
8.
Heat. I'm going with The Heat. My favorite.
Okay.
I love Proposal. Ocean 8. That was good.
Don't confuse The Heat
Yeah.
with the movie Heat, the Al Pacino classic, which is also an outstanding movie.
Bird Box.
But
That's what it
Melissa
was called.
McCarthy and Sandra Bullock as the cops that get together, the odd couple kind of thing. It works very well. Very funny.
Premonition was good. I forgot she was in The Time to Kill. I like that movie.
Adam, do you have one?
I'm not as big of a Sandra Bullock fan as Derek Mason
Something's wrong
is.
with you.
Maybe. that is possible. That is possible that there is indeed something wrong with me. Willie, after you leave us, are you going to have to babysit Hal Gill at this event that he's at?
Babysit is a strong term, but
adult sit.
I think that fits. If the shoe fits, yes, I will be hanging out with my colleagues tonight. There are a bunch of sponsors for the Predators along, so we're gonna hang with them a little bit, and then we will hang in the city here. It's a great place, and the Predators need to get back on the right track. They did not play well last night at all. They got schooled. They did well to fight to get it competitive briefly in the third period, but they've got to fix some things without a doubt.
That'll do it for us today. We'll be back at 3 o'clock tomorrow, a shortened show, 3 to 5 tomorrow, with the Predators playing at 6 o'clock in Philadelphia. Mitch Light will join us. Elliot Freeman will join us. We'll get into the Titans as the NFL trade deadline nears. A lot to discuss, and we'll pack it all in 2 hours. That's tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Wednesday. I love you. The team love you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will be back. Even though it's in a abbreviated show, we will be back tomorrow. Same time, same station. Peace.